science, right? Colleges. There also we need teachers. So similarly, it is because of Srila Prabhupada, we and you are here sitting and discussing about Bhagavad Gita, right? So this knowledge was spoken by Lord Krishna 5,000 years back to Arjuna, and still we'll able to understand that how this knowledge, which was spoken by Krishna so long before, still very much relevant to us, right? And today's topic is very much interesting. Am I in control, right? Or other way we also says, who is pulling my string, right? So these are like two same topics we are going to discuss today, and what all agenda that we are going to cover for today's session. That am I in control of all that I am doing, right? So what am I doing? I am like controlling that thing. So we'll discuss, and who is the actual doer? Whether the activity which I am doing, I am the doer or somebody else, right? And we'll also discuss like how I am responsible for my actions, you know. So that comes like pap and punya, right? Sinful and pious activities. And then we will discuss about modes of material nature also, that how these modes of material nature bind us. And then how to get along with people of different modes, because we are working, right? Or we are student. So we meet different kind of people in our life, right? Some people are angry towards us. Some people are very gentle, right? For us. So different kind of people, but how we will deal with all those people. And then we'll discuss how we can free ourselves from these modes. And then finally, what is a practical tip for my life that I can take, which I can apply practically in my life from Bhagavad Gita, right? Because Bhagavad Gita is very much deep topic. It's very detailed description about so many things. Yoga, Prakriti, Karma, you know. So what is practical that I can understand and I can apply in my life? So the first question comes is, who is the doer, right? We'll understand that who is the doer. Whatever activity we are doing, who is the doer? So here very interesting thing. Oscillating output. This is very like you have also observed this, that many times like in a day also, sometime you are feeling very good, right? When we are getting good marks or salary, we are feeling good. But at the same time, sometime like we are feeling bad also in the same day or after a period of time, right? Shri Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai. And also like in our work also, always we are high productive in our work? No, right? Sometimes we are low also in our work. And our enthusiasm also, sometimes it goes very up, sometimes it was very low. So very important thing is to understand that if I am the same person throughout the day, right, then why these things are happening? Why my enthusiasm is going up and down, right? Why my productivity is going up and down? It's very important to understand this. Because if we see machines, computer or a mobile phone, they're like whatever we want to do, immediately it will do, right? For them, the productivity is depending on us, what we want to do with that device, right? So their productivity is not going up and down. It is because of us, it is going up and down. Then why my productivity or my enthusiasm or my like these modes are keep on oscillating between these things, right? So why your performance is not always same? Very important thing. So we'll understand this with an example in Arjuna's life. We all know that Arjuna is a great devotee of Lord Krishna, right? Who had this opportunity to hear Bhagavad Gita directly from Lord Krishna, right? So fortunate, because we are not getting that chance. Although we are getting it from the acharyas, from spiritual masters, right? But not directly from the Lord, right? So here if you see that this shloka comes from Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, 15th chapter and text number 21. So what Arjuna is saying is that this incident, what happens is when Krishna told Arjuna that my all the wives, my queens were in Dwarka, right? So since I am leaving this world, Krishna is about to leave the world, right? We all know that how Krishna left this world, right? So I am leaving this world, so you have to go and bring to Hastinapur, like in very protective way, right? So then Arjuna went to Dwarika, and while coming back, when Arjuna was coming to Hastinapur, on the way, there were some ordinary people who came, attacked Arjuna, and simply kidnapped all the queens and went away. Right? So Krishna has how many queens? 16,108. Right? All the queens, those people. So it's ordinary. Kidnapping the queens of Krishna, who is the Lord himself, it's an ordinary task. Right? So what Arjuna is saying, like now we'll recite this verse. I have the very same Gandiva bow, the same arrow, the same chariot drawn by the same horses, and I use them as the same Arjuna to whom all the kings offered their due respects. But in the absence of Lord Krishna, all of them at the moment notice have become null and void. It is exactly like offering clarified butter on the ashes, accumulating money with a magic wand, or sowing seeds on a barren land. So if you know that this is the same Arjuna who fought the battle of Kurukshetra, right? And he killed whom? All the Maharathis, right? So Karna, right? And then all the great Acharyas, right? Dronacharya, right? So great people, and nobody could able to stand in front of Arjuna. But this is the same Arjuna who was just defeated by some ordinary people with just having some stick in their hand, not even any arrow or any weapon. With some stick, Arjuna got defeated by those people, right? So here if you see that Arjuna was very much intelligent person, he was very much knowledgeable, not an ordinary person, right? But he was exactly able to understand that why it has happened, if you see this bold. But in the absence of Lord Krishna, all of them become null and void. श्री श्री गंधर्विका गिरधारी श्री चैतन्य महाप्रभु की जय, श्री श्री लक्ष्मी नरसिंह भगवान की जय, निताई गौर सुंदर की जय, श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय. Right? So whenever we also get defeated in our life, our ego clashes, right? That how it can happen to me, right? And it is more worse when some lower than us, a person lower than us defeats us, right? Or like in office also, when we are stuck in some work and our junior knows how to tackle that, right? Write a good code. Then it's very difficult to ask our junior, right? You just help me. Because ego is there, right? So similarly, Arjuna also very knowledgeable, but even he understood that it is because of the absence of Lord Krishna it is happening to me, right? So we know that, have you seen puppet show? Right? In puppet show what happens? People pull the string and then puppet lifts the hand or lift the leg, right? So here in this picture also you seeing that there are three personalities, right? And they are just doing this to some person, right? So we'll understand that what are these personalities and to whom they are doing it, right? So now going to very important shloka of Bhagavad Gita. So you can also repeat after me. Prakarte kriyamanani gunay karmani sarvasha ahankar vimudatma kartaham iti manyate. Anybody would like to read the translation?
The spirit soul, bewildered by the influence of false ego, thinks himself the doer of activities that are in actuality carried out by the three modes of material nature. Bhagavad Gita 3.27.
So here, very interesting thing is, the soul, he thinks that I am the doer of the activity. But here, what Krishna is saying, that if a person thinks that he is the doer of the activity, then what is that person? Vimudha Atma. That means he is just a fool, right? His intelligence was lost. So it's very, very important to understand that why Krishna is saying that if I think that I am the doer of the activity, that I am a fool, right? So we'll understood this. We'll go through in much detail. Now, very important concept come here, that if I am not the doer, then why I held responsible for the things, right? It is unfair. Krishna is saying that if you are thinking that you are the doer, then you are fool, right? So suppose a criminal, he does a crime and went in front of judge, and there he said that I have not done the crime. This was done by the material modes of nature. Then why you are punishing me? You punish the modes of material nature, right? So very common question comes that if I am not the doer, then why I am held responsible for the things? Very important thing, right? So how we can understand this? We have to understand that how karma and material nature coexist. What is the relation between these two, right? So here the question comes this: what is my role in the action? If I am not held responsible, then what is my role in the action? So again, very important shloka where we understand that who all are the doers when we perform any action. So you can repeat this shloka after me. Adhishtanam tatha karta karanam cha prithak vidam vividascha prithak cheshta Devam Chevatra Panchamam. Anybody would like to read?
The place of action, the body, the performer, the various senses, the many different kind of endeavors, and ultimately the super soul. These are the 5 factors of action. Bhagavad Gita 18.14.
Okay. So here we understand that what are the factors that causes any action. So the place of action, that means this body. I am doing any action with the help of this body, right? And the performer. Who is the performer? The soul, which is inside the body. 2. And then various senses, right? So we have different senses, 5 senses we have, right? Because if you want to do any action, we have to use our senses. If I want to see, I need to utilize my eyes, right? If I want to touch, I need to utilize my skin, right? So with the help of senses. And then different kind of endeavor, karma, right? Whatever activity I am doing, different kind of endeavors. And then ultimately the super soul. So how these are interdependent. So for example, suppose if I want to fly like a bird, am I able to fly? No. Why? Because the first one is my desire. Suppose I am desiring that I want to fly, but my desire has to be sanctioned by the Lord. And how Lord will sanction my desire? He will see what karma I have accumulated in my previous life, right? If I have some karma through which Lord can give this benediction, okay, you can fly, then a person can fly. But if I don't have that kind of karma accumulated from my previous life, then I am not able to fly, right? So then, although I am free with my desire, I am only free will, right? I have free will that I can think any of, but that thought has to be converted to action, and further it is all sanctioned by the Lord based on what karma I have accumulated in my previous life or in this life, right? There is a very famous dialogue in one of the film, right? कहते हैं कि अगर किसी चीज़ को पाओ तो सारी कायनात जुट जाती है ना. Some movie it came, right? So it took from here only, right? So if you want to desire any of the thing, that the material nature will do that, but Lord has to sanction. Then what comes? There are so many things who are trying to influence me. Environment around us. We see so many advertisement, right? I want this, I want a good car, right? When children see a chocolate advertisement, they want chocolate, right? And then mind and intelligence, we discussed in the last session that how mind and intelligence are like they are fighting, good dog and bad dog, right? The dog which barks much louder, that dog will win, right? And then on top of that, today we are discussing the modes of material nature, right? And sometimes you'll feel that this person who's telling Gita course also imposing something to me, right? So this is what we are looking. What is all these things happening, right? So suppose example here, if you want to buy a product, if you go to market, buy a product, then you have so many things that will affect your decision. Suppose you have a kids, then you have to forcefully buy a ice cream or chocolate, right? Or you have seen an advertisement that this toothpaste is good, then I will buy this toothpaste, right? And then you will see that this is with my colleagues, then I'll buy that. And then you will see what is in my bank balance, whether I can buy or not. What are my bills pending, right? So many things will affect our decision, whatever decision we want to take in my life. So similarly, if there are so many, if you want to perform an action, there are so many factors associated with that, right? And we have our final call. Ultimately, we have to decide that I should go or not. The choice is ours. Many times you have heard this, right? The choice is yours, right? So there are so many factors. These factors will influence us, but these factors will not take our choice. Because we are influenced by these factors, that is the why our choices will get sometimes shaky. Sometimes we go with this product, sometimes we go with this thing, right? So that is very, very important, that we have to understand that I have my choices, but these choices are affected by all these factors which are there. Now let us understand the modes of material nature. So previously we studied about soul, right? Because we are not body, we are spirit soul, right? This was we discussed in the second chapter of Bhagavad Gita, right? And then we discussed that how these mind and intelligence are connected. We went through this analogy of chariot, right? In that 5 horses are there, 5 senses. Horses are controlled by the ropes. Ropes are like a mind, right? And ropes are controlled by the driver, intelligence, and there is a passenger, which is soul, right? So these all things are how they are interconnected. But again, there is one more thing, which is mode of material nature. And I am sure that you have heard about these modes of material nature with a different name, right? Sattva gun, Rajo gun, and Tamo gun. Mode of goodness, mode of passion, and mode of ignorance, right? So if you see here, so people, they work in a different way according to which mode they are in, right? A passionate, a goodness, or ignorance, right? So we'll go into this in detail. What are these modes, right? And how these modes actually affect us, right? So now first is goodness. That means Sattva Guna. So you can repeat this shloka. Yadagre vishamiva pariname mritopamam tatsukham satvikam proktam buddhi prasadajam. Translation, anybody?
That which in the beginning may be just like a passion, but at the end
Poison.
just like nectar, and which awakens one of the self-realization is said to be happiness in the mode of goodness. Bhagavad Gita 18.37.
Okay. So very important to understand here is which is in beginning like a poison, but at the end like a nectar, right? So what is the thing which is beginning poison and end nectar? If it is a poison, that means it's a poison, right? Example is kids going to school. It's a very hard time na, to wake up kids in the morning. Your bus is coming, wake up, huh? But we know if kids go to school, then they will secure their future, right? Their life they will secure later. So in beginning it is very like feel like a poison, that why I have to wake up early in the morning, right? Why I have to go to school? But when they mature, when they grown up, they will understand that what is the importance of their going to school in their life, right? And again, waking up early in the morning, not 9 o'clock in the morning. Early in the morning means 4 o'clock. Today early in the morning, the concept has changed now, 9 o'clock, right? But early in the morning is 4 o'clock, right? So sometimes it's very difficult, because the people who are very serious in their spiritual life, they have to wake up early in the morning in the Brahma Muhurat time, right? So it's very difficult. But when we wake up early in the morning, when we do meditation, how it will help me to control my mind and sense, right, throughout the day and in the lifelong also, right? So again, it's a feel like a poison. It's very difficult, like why I have to do this. But again, it is a nectar at the end, right? And then chanting of Hare Krishna Mahamantra, right? Chanting, it's very difficult task. If I say chant 16 round, it's very difficult, right? But we know that if we chant, then our mind will get control, right? So how this will happen, we'll discuss later in the slides. So the mode of goodness, we have to remember that it is poison in the beginning, but nectar at the end, right? This is how the goodness is characterized by, and this is how the happiness which is derived from the mode of goodness. Now we'll discuss that what are the people, what are the characteristics of people who are in mode of goodness, right? So we have to see like which mode I am in. Now we'll go through these. So you can repeat after me. Mukta sango naham vadi dhritya hatsa samanvita siddhya siddhyor nirvikara karta satvika uchyate. Translation.
One who performs his duty without association with the modes of material nature, without false ego, with great determination and enthusiasm, and without wavering in the success or failure, is said to be a worker in the mode of goodness.
Very difficult, na? To be in mode of goodness. Because when success comes, we will be very happy. But when failure comes, immediately sad, right? But here Krishna is saying that without wavering in success and failure, right? So with this we can understand that I am in mode of goodness or not, right? And without association with modes of material nature. So if we know that goodness is also a mode of material nature, but here Krishna is speaking about lower modes, which are passion and ignorance, right? So a person who is without false ego, right? So our false ego is very high. We know that because we have so many things which we are having. My car, my house, my family. Na? I am the boss. I am the director of the company. I am the manager. So this I and my is actually the false ego, right? So we have false ego. So it's very difficult to be in a mode of goodness. And then with great determination and enthusiasm. So are we always carry our activity with great determination and enthusiasm? Very difficult, right? Only when there is something which is coming behind us, then we do this. Suppose if I have to meet my target, then I have to do that. Otherwise, I don't have any determination to do any work, right? So we understand that people, it's very difficult to be in a mode of goodness. But we'll discuss that how we can come to this level. It seems very impractical, But how we can come to this stage, we'll discuss that also. Now coming to the second mode, which is passion, that means rajogun. So we understand this. In mode of goodness, the activity, the happiness was characterized by poison in the beginning, nectar in the end. But in passion, we see that, we'll read the shloka and then we'll go to the translation. Vishayandriya sangotgad yattat agre mritopamam pariname visham eva tatsukham rajasam smritam. Okay, translation.
That happiness which is derived from the contact of the sense with their objects and which appears like nectar at first but poison at the end is said to be of the nature of passion.
So, nature of passion is, which is happy or nectar in the beginning, but at end is a poison. Any example? Drinking. No, drinking is ignorance. Because we'll discuss how it is ignorance. Any other example? Any act? Because we are very much.
Passion in the sense, for example, if it is, if I'm not wrong, there is a great swimmer. So that swimming was his passion, and he's swimming, I think, and he won a lot of medals. But at the end, he was went in the direction that he was not happy with his success.
So most of the time we see with great celebrities, right? When they are peak of their career, they are very like movies are going hit, right? And when they are getting aged, like wrinkles are coming, then nobody is taking them for the movies, right? And then they will feel that I was so success, now I was not, right? So, and also if you see that thief, while stealing money, they were very happy. I'm taking this money. But when they also know that if they are caught by the police, poison will come, right? So in our life also, this is happening many times, right? Because now see that the person who are, those person, they derive happiness by contact of their senses, right? So mostly the person who are in mode of passion, they always derive happiness through their senses, right? So examples are like, since we are only discussing the happiness and the people, but there are other aspects also they are like food in mode of different material modes, right? And then activities are on different material modes. So there are so many things, right? So person who are very much derive their happiness through their senses, like suppose they want to eat food which are very much spicy, very hot, very chilly, right? Burning their stomach, right? So such food are known as like food in the mode of passion, right? And like because they want to derive, they want to do something. Passionate means they are behind the work. They want to do some work. If you see here that in our day time also, there are different time for different modes of material nature. Like suppose Brahma Muhurat, 4 to 7 o'clock in the morning is a time in mode of goodness, where people do pranayam, yoga, different activities, right? After 7 o'clock, people start rushing to office, right? 7 to 8, 9 in the evening, right? They do their work, right? Even like if you are doing your pranayam, yoga very nicely in the morning, as soon as you reach office, immediately you will be passionate to work. Now I don't want to do this, now I want to do my work, right? And after 8 o'clock in the night, ignorance. I want to sleep, right? Lethargy, right? So if you see this, the time is also designed like that. And if we don't follow that time, then suppose if person is very much active in ignorance time, right? People who are working in the night shift, right? So that for those people, ignorance will be very much prominent in their character, right? If a person who are very much active in the early morning time, that means those person, goodness is more prominent in those persons, right? So like this, if we want to follow according to the time, then at least we can maintain which modes we are in, right? And again, what is the, how the we can define the worker? You can repeat this shloka. Ragi karma phala prepsur lubdo himsatmako suchi harsha shokanvitam karta rajasa parikirtita. Translation. Yeah.
The worker who is attached to the work and the fruit of work, desiring to enjoy those fruits, and who is greedy, always envious, impure, and moved by joy and sorrow, is said to be in the mood of passion. Bhagavad Gita 18.27.
Right? So, passionate people, they are always towards the fruit of their work, not towards the work also. Right? So, if a person in a mode of goodness, if you give him some work, he will ask that how I can do this work. But if a person who is a mode of passion, he will immediately ask what I will get from this work. Right? So, that by these things we can analyze that a person which mode they are in. Right? So, passionate purpose, they are always behind the fruits. I will get this, I will get this. If I do this, then I will get this, right? So like this, they are always desiring for the fruits. And if we see the scriptures, right? So scripture says that we can do our work, but we cannot claim on our what we will get after that work, right? Very famous shloka from Bhagavad Gita. Karmanyavadhikaraste, right? Ma phaleshu kadachana, that you are not entitled for the fruits of your work. You can do your work, right? So similarly, a person who is very much passionate, they will check what I will get. If I go for this job, I'll get a good salary or not, right? So like this, and these persons are always greedy. They want more and more and more. And then always envious, right? Why that person is getting, why I'm not getting that? Why that person is getting more, right? And then impure and moved by joy and sorrow. So always disturbed by joy and sorrow. Now coming to the, what is the famous life for this? Corporate life, huh? Passionate. Okay. Ignorance. That means tamo guna. So you can repeat after me. Ayukta prakrita stabda shato naskrito lasa vishadi dirgha sutri cha karta tamasa uchyate. Translation.
The worker who is always engaged in work against the injunctions of the scripture, who is materialistic, obstinate, cheating, and expert in insulting others, and who is lazy, always
Morose.
morose, and procrastinating, is said to be a worker in the mode of ignorance.
Okay. So survive by hook or crook. Like make money by any means. Like so here you see that very materialistic. They don't know what is happiness. And they always do the thing which is opposite to the scriptures. If a scripture is saying don't do this, they will do opposite. Always. Right? And always cheating others. So how many of us are in goodness? Okay. Passionate? Ignorance? Nobody. Haath छिपा लो. Okay. So now we discussed that these are the workers. Now, what would be the happiness for the mode of ignorance? People who are in mode of ignorance. For goodness, it was poison in beginning and nectar in end. For passionate, poison in nectar in beginning, poison in end. Now for ignorant people, what is the happiness formula?
Nectar and beginning and nectar.
No nectar. Equal.
Yes. So no nectar. Poison in beginning and poison in end. Right? So we'll go through this shloka and when we'll discuss. Yadagre cha anubandhe cha sukham mohanam atmana nidralasya pramadotham tattamasam udartam. Okay.
And that happiness which is blind to self-realization, which is delusion from beginning to end, and which arises from sleep, laziness, and illusion, is said to be the nature of ignorance.
So, as we discussed, from their blind of self-realization, they don't know what is good, what is bad, right? So sometimes a person who is in mode of goodness or passion, we can deal that person, right? Because goodness person, they can understand what is wrong, what is not, right? Passionate person also we can deal somehow. But to deal with the person who is in mode of ignorance is very difficult. Why? Because they don't know what is good for me and what is good for you, right? So if you go and try to educate such person, they will harm you. For example, a person who is drunkard, if you go and teach that person, right, what will happen to you? He will slap or he will say some bad things, right? Because he is ignorant. He don't know what is good for him, then how he will know what is good for you, right? So that is the reason the Prabhuji told na, drinking. So drinking is in mode of ignorance, right? Because it's poison in the beginning. Because why it's poison in the beginning? Liver का तो स्वाहा हो ही जाएगा, है ना? And poison in the end, right? Money भी गया, सब चला जाएगा ना? So it's always poison. And very famous example is illusion is Krishna is saying that it is delusion, beginning and end. So like suppose example is camel. So camel, what they eat? In the desert, they eat thorny cactus, right? And when they eat thorny cactus, what happens? When they eat, then that cactus, because of that, their tongue gets broke and blood oozes from their tongue. And when they chew the cactus, they feel that this is so tasty. Actually, the taste is because of their own blood. But because of the illusion, they think that this cactus is very, very tasty. Right? So this is how a person who is in a mode of ignorance, they are doing some activity and they feel that this is very good activity I am doing. Right? But they don't know that this activity which they are doing is actually making them in delusion. They are harmful for them. Right? So now, which mode we are in? So there is no pure goodness, passion and ignorance. Right? There is always a combination. If you see here, color palette RGB, red, green and blue. Right? So if you mix these three colors in different proportion, how many colors can you make? Unlimited, right? Unlimited colors you can make with different proportion. And that is the reason we always find people with different mentality. Because always there is a different proportion of goodness, passion and ignorance in their life. And that is the reason Krishna says also that there are how many species of life? 84 lakh, है ना? बोलते हैं 8.4 million species of life. And these species of life, because in different species of life, different these modes of material nature are prominent, right? Suppose in the hog's life, ignorance is very prominent and goodness is not there, right? Human life, It's sometimes they are passionate, sometimes they are in goodness, sometimes they are in ignorance, right? So that is the reason there are different people with different thoughts. And also if you see that rope, each rope is made up of different strands, right? So then 3 strands, sometimes they make a rope, right? And these ropes, actually we are bound by these ropes only. And if somebody is thinking that I am free, then that is the foolishness, that I am not the free. I am always bound by these different modes of material nature. I am conditioned by these modes. How? So we'll discuss that. Rajas tamascha bhibhuyam Sattvam bhavati bharata Raja sattvam tamaschaiva Tama sattvam rajasthatha.
Sometimes the mode of goodness becomes prominent, defeating the modes of passion and ignorance. O son of Bharata, sometimes the mode of passion defeats goodness and ignorance, and at the other time, ignorance defeats goodness and passion. In this way, there is always competition for supremacy.
So politics is going on in themselves also, right? They want to prove themselves supreme. And very like commonly we have seen, right? Suppose if I'm going to do some work and I'm feeling sleepy, right? What will happen? Sometime mind will say, thoda so lete hain. Then ignorance is getting prominent. He is like overcoming the goodness and passion, right? Because work is passion, so is more prominent now. And sometime in morning if you wake up, I want to do some chanting, I want to do some arti, then goodness is more, right? So it's defeating the passion and ignorance. So that is the reason, like always our modes, our different like habits or our character also fluctuates like this. So now question comes is, which mode should I be in? Which is the good mode for me? Goodness, passion or ignorance? Ignorance? Which mode? Goodness? Okay. Goodness is, okay. So now, I'll give you one example. So suppose you are taken to a prison house, right? Now in prison house, you have an option to choose different, क्या कहते हैं उसके? Your cell, जो भी. Now in A class, B class or C class. A class there is a, right? A class there is a refrigerator, there is a AC, everything is there. Microwave oven is there, you have everything to cook. B class, there's no AC, no fridge, but you have what you want to cook. And C class, only mosquitoes, right? Now which class you will prefer?
No class.
No class. Why?
Because when we are in
Yeah, because you are in prison. You should think that how I should go out of the prison, right? Because still if I am in A class, but I am in prison house, I am not free to do what I want, right? So that is the reason we are here in this material world and we are bound by mode of goodness, passion and ignorance, right? So that is means that you are bound by golden chain, silver chain or iron chain. Which chain is good for you? No chain, because you are bound. Even it's a golden chain, you are bound by that chain. It's not good, right? So now question comes that goodness, what are the characters of goodness? Happiness and knowledge. How it is bounding? Happiness is good, na? First session, secret of happiness. We are all searching for happiness in our life, right? So how happiness is bounding me? So now we'll go to this shloka where Krishna is telling how happiness is also, goodness is also bounding. Tatra sattva nirmalat sattvat prakasakam anamayam sukha sangena bandhanti jnana sangena chanagha. Okay.
Once, O sinless one, the mode of goodness being purer than the others is illuminating and it frees one from all sinful actions. Those situated in that mode become conditioned by a sense of happiness and knowledge.
Conditioned by sense of happiness and knowledge. Conditioned. So suppose in A class prison, you are feeling very happy. AC है ना, फ्रिज भी है, बाहर क्यों जाऊँ मैं, सब कुछ तो मिल ही रहा है मुझे, है ना. I am very happy here. But that person doesn't know if he go out, he can do whatever he want. He can go anywhere. He is not limited within four walls, right? So, and then in goodness also, like I can do charity, right? Charities are also, there are different kind of in modes. Charity in mode of goodness, passion and ignorance, right? So goodness people, they always do charity, that चलो किसी का भला करते हैं, है ना? And then everything is good for me. But the question comes is, even I am happy, but I am in the prison house, right? So I have to go out of this prison house. I am bound by the happiness. Then what if I am bound by the happiness? Then what I am looking for, right? Question comes, because we are all searching for happiness. So question comes here. Sattva sukhe sanjayati raja karmani bharata jnanamavrityatu tamaha pramade sanjayutyata.
O son of Bharata, the mode of goodness conditions one to happiness, passion, conditions one to fruitive action, and ignorance covering one's knowledge binds one to madness.
So here, goodness conditions ones to happiness. So now here, the happiness which we are talking about is non-permanent happiness, right? It's not a transcendental happiness, because you have some limited happiness. Suppose you are in prison house and if light goes, now no AC, will not work, then you will feel distress, right? So similarly, my happiness here is limited. My happiness is what? It is a time gap between two distress. That is the happiness. You know that in like previously, when a criminal used to get punishment, how they do that? They take criminal to a water body and then they dip the face inside, right? Criminal was suffocating and then they take out, and then criminal was feeling very relaxed, and then again next time in the water, right? So when then criminal or person who is coming out, that time he was feeling, I've got relief, right? But that is the relief actually. So that is what happiness in this material world. It is, the happiness is between the two distress, because now I am not getting any distress in my life, so I am happy. That is actually what happiness we are feeling in our life. We are not feeling the transcendental happiness which remains for longer and which will not depend on all these factors in my life, right? So that is the reason we are conditioned by happiness also. And then fruitive action, passionate people always conditioned by fruitive action, because they are always looking for what I will get out of my work, right? I'll get salary, I'll get good hike, right? Or I get good marks. And then ignorance, need not to say, right? So now question comes is, I may situate myself in higher modes, but how I will deal with the other people who are in different modes, right? Because I am a family man, I have my family, I have my boss, right? I have traffic police, so many things are there in my life, right? So how I will deal with other people's, because we have understood that we get distress from our environment, other people also, right? Our mind also. So how we can deal with that? So this is very like I have heard this, that there will be a person in every one of our life who will test all our parameter to its extreme, right? So they will test stress test, durability test, functionality test, all tests they will do in your life. So either they may be your spouse, right? They may be your children, right? They may be your boss, right? Anyone. They will do all kind of tests in your life. How like mature you are, how you can handle all these problems, right? So we meet different kind of people. With some people, we are very much comfortable, right? Because they are like us. Some people we can manage, although we are not comfortable, but I can manage, or I have to manage, right? Because I have to live with that person. And some people will stay a distance, है ना? जैसे देखे इधर मुड़ गए, है ना? And some people are very ruthless in our life, right? So it's very difficult to manage with the people, right? And very famous thing, like example here is, like when we go for a matchmaking, we always first go to astrologer, right? Kundali दिखाओ, है ना? Why we see the kundali? Why we? Because you see that there are three kind of characters in the human. Either they are asuri, demoniac, manushya or humanic, or divine, है ना? Daivya. So Daivya means either they are in goodness, asuri means in the mode of ignorance, and manushya means in a mode of passion, right? So when we go for a matchmaking, what astrologer will see, that what is the character of this person and what is the character of that person. If both are goodness, then they can live the life at least. And if both are like passionate also, then because both are compatible, passionate, है ना? And if both are ignorance also, then also it's a compatible, right? But if a goodness and ignorance, goodness will say चलो chanting करते हैं, passionate चलो सोते हैं, कहाँ chanting करेंगे, है ना? और passionate and ignorance, passionate will go चलो चलो मॉल चलेंगे, यहाँ चलेंगे, अरे सो जाओ यार, है ना? So that is the reason in previous ages the marriages are more successful than the Kali Yuga, because they at least go for matchmaking. Today what happened? पहली नज़र का प्यार, है ना? है ना? Love at first sight, no matchmaking. And that is the reason divorce happens, because natures are not compatible, right? That is the reason. If you see that this is a science, and nowadays people say that कि क्या astrology, what is this? ये क्या कुंडली देखते रहते हो? कहाँ modern है ये तो बहुत. We are very modern. Don't see the kundali. This is why we have to see the kundali. This is science. This is not an ordinary thing, right? So now, very important to understand that why I am forced. So you can repeat after me. Nahi kaschatana mapi jatu tisthatya akarma krit karyate havasham karma sarva prakartir jay gunay.
Everyone is forced to act helplessly according to the qualities he has acquired from the modes of material nature. Therefore, no one can refrain from doing something, not even for a moment.
Yeah. So nobody can do like just sit quietly. Either something will go in the mind or he will do some action, right? So it's very difficult to like do something, like don't do anything, just sit. It is like child, you are trying to make a child sit quietly. Very difficult, right? To make a child sit quietly. है ना? So that is the reason Krishna here saying that it is very difficult for a person because they are helplessly, they are either under some or other in some modes, right? So that is the reason we have different people who are attracted by different things. Suppose a dog in the street, he will attracted by a filthy thing, right, in the street. But a person who is a very gentleman, he will eat nice thing, right? So because there are different mode of material nature, which mode they are in, right? And that is the reason, if you see here, different varieties of food, right? Some are in mode of ignorance, some are in mode of passion, some are in mode of goodness, right? So people, according to their modes, they will be attracted towards different eatables. So very famous story, it comes in a scripture also. There was once a fisherman, he was traveling in the night and it was very cold. So he was passing by through one ashram. The ashram, like sages were living in that ashram, and it was very cold. So that sages told that fisherman that come inside, take some rest, eat something. It's night, very cold. So that, but you have to keep your this bag of fish outside. And then that fisherman went inside. And then there was a very nice fragrance coming out of flowers. Very nice aroma is there out of incense. They have done some havan. Very nice atmosphere was inside. And then he got everything, and then now it's night time, so he was now going for a sleep. And now that person was very difficult time in sleeping. He was not able to sleep. He was trying to sleep, but he was not. And then what he did, he went outside and went to his bag of fish, and there he got very nice sleep. Why? Because he was conditioned by that mode of material nature, right? So even when we are conditioned by the mode of material nature, it's very difficult to come out of that material mode of nature. And that is the reason in the night time, what is the mode in the night? Mode of material nature, sattva, rajo or tamo. Ignorance, right? And that is the reason waking up early in the morning, taking bath is very difficult, because that is activity in a mode of goodness. Coming from ignorance to the goodness, it's very difficult. That is the reason people have a very difficult time to get up early in the morning, right? And taking bath also. So when we are conditioned by any mode of material nature, it's very difficult to come out. They are very swift, right? Suppose if I want to lift my hand, right? So we discussed that there are 5 factors, right? Paramatma, Prakriti, doer, my effort. So all these things will work very swiftly in a like less than a microsecond. So that is the reason these modes are very, very swift. They work very swiftly. Now how to get free from these modes? Goodness, passion and ignorance. We have to come to a mode which is above them. So what Krishna is saying? Purushe prakrtistho hi bhongate prakriti jan gunan karanam guna sangasya sat asad yoni janmasu. Translation?
The living entity in material nature thus follows the ways of life, enjoying the 3 modes of nature. This is due to association with that material nature. Thus he meets with good and evil among various species. Bhagavad Gita 13.2.
Right? So because we are associating with these modes of material nature, that is the reason we have sometime distress, sometime happiness in our life, right? But a person who is above all these modes of material nature, he will not feel distress or happiness. And that is known as transcendental, like Suddha Sattva Guna, that nature, right? So, and that is the reason we have to associate with a person who is in that transcendental mode of material nature, means transcendental. So, like we have to get up early in the morning, right? When we do that, then we will at least go in the goodness, and from goodness it's very easy to go up, but from ignorance it's very difficult, right? And then we have to read the scriptures, right? Now we are reading this sloka. Before attending this session, how many of us are knowing about mode of material nature? That I am in all this in material mode of nature. Very difficult, right? So we have to read the scriptures. We'll get the knowledge that, oh, I have to do this, I have to do that, right? And then we have to chant also. Very famous saying. Tell me whom you associate and I will tell you who you are. Right? That is the reason drunkard always loves in the association of drunkard, है ना? जुआरी को जुआरी चाहिए, है ना? That is the reason. Because they want to associate with their like. What their mode, they want to associate with the same person. That is very, very important. And now, why we have to do that? Tragurniya Vishaya Veda Nistraya Gurnyo Bhavarjuna Nirdvando Nitya Sattvastho Niryogakshema Atmavan.
Vedas deal mainly with the subject of the three modes of material nature. O Arjuna, become transcendental to these three modes, be free from all dualities and from all anxieties for gain and saving, and be established in the self.
Right. So all the Vedic scriptures, Vedas, they deal with the modes of material nature always. How? Suppose Ayurveda, it will tell about medicinal science, which is related to the material body, right? Astronomy, it will speak about different planets, right? So in all the Vedas, if you see that they always say about different modes of material nature, right? So Krishna is telling Arjuna here that go beyond these modes of material nature, because when you go beyond this, then only you will free from all the dualities. What are the dualities in our life? Happiness, distress, gain, lose, right? So there is always dualities. Shri Shri Gandharvika Giridhari Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ki jai, Shri Shri Lakshmi Narsingh Bhagwan ki jai, Panchatattva ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So that is the reason we have to go beyond this material nature always.
How to go beyond?
We'll take this. So many times we go for spiritual shopping, है ना? We go to some organization or some place, right? Our saffron people is saying something, we are listening to that person, right? We don't know whether what they are saying, whether they are saying according to scriptures, right? They are themselves like free from these modes of material nature, right? Or they are at least following what is mentioned in the Bhagavad Gita, right? So don't go for spiritual shopping, right? So always go for, because the scriptures are also in different modes. There are scriptures which are in mode of goodness, some scriptures are in mode of ignorance, some scriptures are in mode of passion. And that is the reason we have Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh, right? Brahmaji in mode of passion, because they have to create the universe, right? To do some activity, you have to be in mode of passion, right? And Vishnuji in mode of goodness, right? Because they maintain. And Shiv in mode of ignorance, because they have to annihilate right? So different scriptures and scriptures which are connected to with these different personalities are also in their modes, right? So like this, they are different. Everywhere we'll find these modes of material nature. And here Krishna is recommending Arjuna that we have to go beyond this material mode of nature. Otherwise, what will happen? We will be cheated by the people in the society. If you go to a place, iron shop, suppose you want to buy a gold, and you went to a place where they are selling iron, and you ask, give me the gold. Then what that shopkeeper will see? That this person doesn't know about gold, and they will give you iron in the form of gold, right? So at least we have to be some knowledge of our scriptures. If we do not have any knowledge, then people will easily cheat us. And that is the reason we have to have this very important life manual. What is that? Bhagavad Gita, right? So, because we have so many manuals in our life, right? When we buy a scooter, we have one manual. But for our this own body, our own life, we do not have Bhagavad Gita. We are not reading Bhagavad Gita, right? So when we read Bhagavad Gita, we will know that what is actually speaking, what Lord is actually telling us, right? All these things we will get to know. And then when we go somewhere, we will ask, we will save ourselves from getting cheated by different people who are in name of Guru cheating people, right? So what is the solution? Mataji asked how we can go beyond. So here Krishna is saying, Daivim Hesha Gurmai Mama Maya Durataya Mameva Ye Prapadyante Maya Metam Tarantite.
This divine energy of mind, consisting of the three modes of material nature, is difficult to overcome. But those who have surrendered unto me can easily cross beyond it.
Right? So Krishna is giving the solution here. Right? So this divine energy of mind is very difficult to overcome. But those who surrender to Krishna without taking the shelter of Krishna, there is no hope. Right? So there are many solutions you'll find on YouTube, different motivational speakers. But they will not tell from Bhagavad Gita that this is the solution which Krishna is giving. Right? Even like we are listening so many motivational talks, but still we feel morose, right? Many times in our life. Why? Because we are not getting the right solution. When we take the shelter of Krishna, then these modes of material nature will not disturb us in our life. And how we can take? We'll discuss that, how we can take the shelter. Macha yobhya bicharena bhakti yogena sevate sagunan samatityetan brahma bhuyaya kalpate.
One who engages in full devotional service, unfailing in all circumstances, at once transcends the modes of material nature and thus comes to the level of
Brahman. So Krishna is saying that when one performs the devotional service, so always remember that devotional service doesn't come in any either of the mode, goodness, passion or ignorance. It is beyond all these three modes. So when you chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra, right, or when you are hearing Bhagavad Gita like you are hearing now, or when you read Bhagavad Gita, or when you do worship of the Lord, those activities are transcendental. They are not in this modes of material nature. And when you do these activities will not bind you. We heard, right? Goodness bound us by happiness, right? And passion bound us by fruitive actions. And ignorance bound us by madness, right? So when you do these devotional activities, then you will surpass all these modes of material nature. Now question comes, I am a worker, I am an employee of an organization, right? I have to go office, I have to write, I have to do my job. That job is not worshipping Krishna, right? Because there you are not chanting, you are not doing any arti. Then how that activity will save you from bound? Akarma, yes. That is the reason, yeah, previous sessions we heard. So akarma, right? Because there are karma, vikarma, akarma. Karma means good activities, vikarma means bad activities, akarma means no reactions of the activities, right? So if you see this mode of material nature, either they will give good reactions or bad reactions, right? But akarma, when you perform devotional service, you will not get any reactions. So suppose when you are doing your job, but you have to always be detached from your job also, right? When you are doing something, then you have to always thinking that this is I am doing because I have to just keep my soul and body together. That is the reason I am doing it. But when comes greed that I want to more and more, I want to more and more, then you will get bound by the passion, right? So you have to always think that whatever activity I am doing it for keeping my soul and body together, and I like ultimately to serve the Lord, right? Or to serve the devotees of the Lord. Like whatever money I will get, I will use this money in the service of the Lord. I will use this money in distributing prasadam to the people, right? So somehow or other, you have to utilize it in service of the Lord. Otherwise, that will bound us. So that is very, very important. So now what is the practical tip? We can understand that modes will surely affect us, but we can minimize their effectiveness, right? So suppose goodness, if we are in goodness, we will be correct, like we will feel happiness, but we will minimize that by doing some devotional activity, right? Because suppose if you jump in the water, you will not save yourself from getting wet, right? Correct? But you can, when you are in water, but if you feel that I am getting wet, what I will do now, I will go down. So all these thoughts you can, like, don't think of that. So this is how we can in that work, but at the same time we can minimize by doing the devotional activity. And second, hate the sin, not the sinner. Because we understand that a person who is committing any sinful activities, it is because of their modes of material nature. Now he is in mode of goodness, or now he is in mode of passion. So he is doing this activity. But these modes keep on changing, right? So next time maybe that person may be good person. So I should hate the sin, not the sinner. That is the reason we should not hate anybody. And then forming perception of people is destructive because people change, right? Because people are in different modes, they will change after some time, right? Today, like suppose a person who is very doing all kinds of obnoxious activities, but in the next day when he will get association of the devotees, he starts chanting, right? So person is changed now, right? He is becoming good person. And then when you get affected by someone, don't ponder on too much, right? Because don't take the modes overcome you, right? Don't think that this person has said something bad to me, right? My boss is not giving me hike, right? My mother is always saying that if you don't get good marks, you will send to the village, right? All these things. Don't ponder on to too much if something is happened to you, right? And then keep a higher goal in your life. If you have a higher goal in your life, you will always don't see the lower goal. What is the higher goal? That I want to achieve the love of Godhead, right? So to achieve that love, there may be something will come in between, right? I have to go with so many things in my life, right? There is one very famous story from Ramayana. So Kaushalya, everybody knows Kaushalya and Dashrath Maharaj, right? So Dashrath Maharaj was not very much attracted towards Kaushalya, right? He was very much attracted mostly to Kaikeyi or other, right? So Kaushalya was always feeling that why my husband is not attracted, like why he is not giving me time, right? So what happened is she engaged himself in other activity. What she did, she started preaching to the kids. She opened a Gurukul and engaged herself in that Gurukul activity, right? And then later, Dashrath Maharaj, when one day he went to the room of Kaushalya, he didn't found. Then he went, where is the Kaushalya? And then somebody told that Maharaj, she is teaching the children in Gurukul. Now Kaushalya don't have time for the Dashrath Maharaj, right? Because he got set some higher goal, right? If you are like, so similarly, we have to set some higher goal in our life. That this life is only meant for just going to office, coming back, sleeping, again morning going to office. No. Something should be taken out of this life, right? So if we set that higher goal, then we will not get affected by other people. Because we know that these people are only for some time. I have some higher goal in my life, right? So that is the reason we have to, we can go along with the people. And then finally, we in the beginning we heard that how Arjuna was feeling very morose, right? That he was attacked by some ordinary people, got defeated. Now here what Arjuna is saying, now I am attracted to those instructions imparted to me by the personality of Godhead, Govinda, because they are impregnated with instructions for relieving the burning heart in all circumstances of time and space. Srimad Bhagavatam, 1st Canto, chapter 15, text number 27. So here Arjuna was again remembering the instructions of Lord Krishna, which he was received through Bhagavad Gita, right? So he was not feeling that morose, that what happened to me, why I am defeated by those people, right? So similarly, we have to also remember the instructions of Lord Krishna from Bhagavad Gita. When we remember these instructions, and how we can remember? By repeatedly reading the Bhagavad Gita, right? Because to stay something in our mind, we have to repeatedly hear or read again and again, right? And we have to associate with the person, those persons who are reading or hearing about Srimad Bhagavad Gita. And then we have to also chant every day Mahamantra, Hare Krishna Mahamantra, right? So when we do all these activity on daily basis, then we will not get affected by all these modes of material nature, and not also by other people who are in different modes, right? So like this, we have to follow in our life. And then, what is that mantra we are always repeating? That in every yuga, there is a different process to achieve the love of Godhead, right? In Satya Yuga, people used to do meditation. In Treta Yuga, they were using temple worship. And in Treta Yuga, Yagya. Draupadi Yuga, temple worship. And Kali Yuga, chanting of the holy name, right? So similarly, we have to do this simply, the chanting of the holy name. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare. So when we chant this mantra every day, read scriptures, associate with the people who are on this same path, then we will see our life will not get disturbed by all these modes of material nature, right? So next session we will discuss on the supreme controller. We are controlled. We understood that we are controlled by modes of material nature. But who is controlling us? How he is controlling us? Right? So we'll discuss that in the next session. So any questions from the today's session? Yes, Prabhuji.
Goodness, passion and ignorance binds us together. then does that mean we should not do any good? Or like it's the goodness towards are we supposed to do good or not?
Yes. So goodness, passion and ignorance bound us. Goodness means we are conditioned by happiness and knowledge. Right? So what we have to do is, we have to engage ourselves in such a way so that our activity will not bind us. Like suppose you want to do some good activity. Suppose if you want to feed people, right? Or you want to do a charity, right? Good activity, right? So what you have to do? Before you want to feed, offer that bhoga to the Lord and then distribute as a prasadam. So when they take prasadam, they will be freed by all these modes of material nature, right? Because when they take prasadam is non-different from the Lord. So whatever good activity you want to do, just see that this good activity comes with the Lord. Is Lord in my activity or not? If Lord is not in your activity, that means that is not a good activity. That activity will bind you, right? In the beginning of the first session, we told that there are 5 topics in Bhagavad Gita. What are the 5 topics of Bhagavad Gita? Prakriti, material nature, living entity, right? Soul, then Lord, right? And then karma, our activity, and the time, right? So if you see this, all these 5 activity, karma and living entity under this material nature, do some activity, right, in a time, right? And if that activity is not for the Lord, if Lord is missing, 5th item is missing, then we will bind by that activity always, right? So whatever good thing we are doing, we have to see whether Lord is in picture or not. If Lord is not in picture, then that is not a good activity at all. That will bind us. Okay?
Yes. And have another question. If Vishnu is goodness and Brahma passion and Maheshwara is ignorance, then how do all of these get together and protect everything?
How do
all of these
protect the earth? See, protecting the earth means they are creating. See, Brahma is creating the universe, right? And Vishnu is maintaining. Suppose this building is created by somebody, owner, right? But now you and me are in this building. We have to see whether water is coming, right? We have to see whether the things are on their place. So we have to maintain. And after some time, this building will get demolished when the time is over, right? So like this, they have different roles in the universe. Brahma has to create, Vishnu has to maintain, and Shiva has to destruct, right? And these are like, although they are in like the head of different material modes, but actually it is said that the people, they are not affected by these modes, because they know that I am working under whose direction. So that we will understand in the next section. The supreme controller, I am working under whose direction, because they know this, right? Suppose a child, a very small child, he see a machine, and if he automatic machine, a washing machine, he see that, oh, this machine is going by self, is rotating by self. But father knows that because I have pressed one button, it is working, right? So because of our ignorance, we don't know that all these activities are doing under whose control, right? But the person who's supreme person, they know that who's under control, all these things are going on, right? Any other question?
Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh, they themselves are supreme, right? Again.
We'll understand next session. It is again very long. See, please come next session. How? Any other question?
Control.
Huh?
They also have some control.
Yeah. Okay. So we'll pause today's session. हरे कृष्णा। ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय, श्रीमद् भगवत गीता की जय, श्रीला प्रभुपाद की जय. So now we'll go to the chanting. So we understood that by associating with the devotees and by reading scriptures and by chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, we can overcome all these modes of material nature, right? So we'll have the chanting session now. Okay. So how many of you have come for the first time? Okay. So everybody got the beats? So these are the beats. So in this you will see one top, right? This is known as Sumeru, right? So on this beat, we will chant this mantra, okay? On this first beat, Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advait Gadadhar Shiva Shadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda. And then after that, on other beats, we will chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare. Right? So we don't have to use this finger again. Why? False ego. This finger denotes us false ego. Right? That is the reason in any rituals we don't use this. So use this finger, and then you have to chant clockwise. That means you have to pull it down. Right? And when you chant, you have to say the mantra and hear the mantra. That's all. Right? Just say and hear. If you do this, your meditation is good. Right? But it's not very easy also when you do. Different thoughts will come in your mind as usual. But if thoughts will come, just bring your mind back to the mantra. Right? So, and we will chant in the sync so that everybody can follow.
जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद. हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama,